All right, all right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody is doing well today. Excuse me. Dive into the fundamentals. And then we'll dive into the chart. So as always, let's turn off all distractions, grab a pen and paper, let's take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. All right. So real quick, just drop me a one in the chat if you can hear me okay. All right, perfect. Just give me 1 second while I switch things over to trading economics, and we will knock this thing out. Afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful. All right, let's get to it. So first things first, UK inflation rate. UK inflation rate higher than expected. Annual inflation rate in the UK was unchanged in September, defying market expectations of slightly decreased to 6.6%, as softer increases in prices for food and furniture were offset by a rebound in transportation costs. Meanwhile, core inflation slowed to 6.1, slowest rate since January, but slightly above forecast of 6%. So slightly higher than expectation. We'll see how the pound responds to that. You know, previously the pound was starting to take a bit of a hit, right? With some slower numbers. So we'll watch that. China retail sales rise for the most in 4 months. So a little bounce back in the Chinese economy. Q3 GDP growth above estimates for China as well. Then we had, we'll dive into these a little bit deeper. European markets stayed subdued on Wednesday as investors balanced concerns about the escalating conflict in the Middle East and persistent high inflation in the UK with better than expected Chinese GDP data. Official data released on Wednesday indicated that the British annual consumer price inflation stayed at 6.7% in September, defying the expectations. Additionally, economic growth in China moderated less than estimated to 4.9 in the third quarter. On the corporate front, semiconductor equipment maker ASML reported Q3 earnings of 1.9 billion, aligning with analyst expectations, but expressed an expectation that 2024 sales would remain relatively stable. All right, so European markets are a little balanced right now. There are eyes on the conflict in with Israel and Palestine, and you're starting to see some of those safe haven moves start to pull back a bit, as some of the cash is moving out of those safe haven assets as that war continues to linger on, and there are concerns and expectations of that war kind of expanding a bit. So, so as we dive into oil, you hear some of that sentiment. Oil extends gains over 3%, with Brent crude futures rising nearly $93 a barrel, highest in 2 weeks, following Iran's call for a Muslim country embargo against Israel. Tensions escalated in the Middle East after a blast of the Gaza City hospital that killed 500 Palestinians on Tuesday. Israel's denying they carried out the attack. Meanwhile, industrial data showed U.S. crude inventories dropped by about 4.4 million barrels last week, far exceeding forecasts of 300,000 barrel decline. Elsewhere, Venezuela administration and opposition leaders on Tuesday agreed to electoral guarantees for 2024 presidential election, paving the way for possible U.S. sanction relief that could increase global oil supplies. So some of the issues from yesterday in the war are causing concerns of the war expanding and continuing on a little bit longer. So not a big shock and then it dies down. So they're looking at this potentially continuing to escalate and extend. And you're seeing other countries also start to speak up about things. So you have other countries also speaking up about some of the things that are happening there, and they're sending troops over to get their natives. Japan, Australia, and others are sending troops over, ships, to try to get their natives out of Israel and bring them back to safety. So there are concerns of that continue to expand. So we'll continue to watch and see how things go there. Then let's go back and do gold. Gold surges to 1930 an ounce on Wednesday, hitting the highest levels in almost a month, as fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East prompted investors to seek safe haven assets. So gold continues to rise, but we're also starting to see, as we had already seen, some of the commodity currencies started to pick up, including oil. So, but tensions escalated in the Middle East. The hospital incident killing 500 people. Stronger than expected retail sales and industrial production data bolster the higher for longer view on interest rates. All right, so that data came out yesterday. That's what we're starting to see. So it's driving Treasury yields back toward multi-year highs. In the latest Federal Reserve commentary, Richmond Fed President Thomas Barkin said higher longer-term borrowing costs are putting downward pressure on demand. So he's looking at the downside, but then you had Minneapolis President Neo Kashkari said inflation remains too high. So investors are looking ahead to Jerome Powell's speech later on this week to see if he gives any additional guidance on the interest rate and inflation scenario to get further insight on how things could move. So we'll continue to watch gold and see how things move from that perspective. Then over to the calendar. Right. Here's the CPI data that we talked about. Then got FOMC members speaking today, quite a few of them. 3 there at 12:30, 12:30, and 1 o'clock. Then we got another at 3:15. And then you have employment change and unemployment rate for the Aussie coming in here. Also yesterday you had Governor of the Bank of Australia speak, and she gave some somewhat dovish remarks. Here, Governor Bullock, essentially saying that they're on a narrow path with interest rates, and they've yet to see the lingering the impacts of previous interest rate hikes. So kind of tiptoeing on the side of potentially pausing again for the Aussie. So more of a dovish tone in her speech. So we'll continue to monitor that as well to see how that impacts the Aussie dollar. Are there any questions from a fundamental perspective? Nope. Okay. All right, so let's dive over to the charts. Take a look at the dollar first. Then we'll dive into the pair. So the dollar is just lingering, right? We had a strong bullish action last week. We got this pullback, and it's just taking its time, slowly sliding down back to retest some of these previous resistance levels. And this is on the 4-hour time frame. We're getting a push to the upside right now, so we'll see what happens with the dollar as we move through the day. But we're in this retracement phase right now. Hasn't been a strong impulsive move to the downside, so we could just see this be a temporary move down and then a push back to the upside. So we'll watch the dollar and see how things move. And we'll see if we get back to the support level here or not, right? So that's on the 4-hour. Coming back to the daily, right? You see we're just lingering at that B boundary level right there, right? Just sideways consolidation. Looking to see where price breaks out, be it to the upside or to the downside there. All right, coming down to the 1. Right, AB boundaries taken out on both sides. We hit the D extension there, then we pulled all the way back to the low, and then we pushed up. So just sitting sideways right now, waiting to see where the dollar goes from here. All right. So that is the DXY. Quick look at the dollar yen. Not a ton to discuss. We're still caught in this range, right? And this is on a 1-hour time frame, going back through last week, right? We're just pressing sideways here. So we need to break out to the top side or the downside there. Again, nothing has changed for the Bank of Japan. So we are still just in this consolidated phase, looking to see what happens. As we talked about with the Bank of Japan, things are still hinging on wages and how they navigate the wage situation in Japan. Those meetings will kick off beginning of November, and they'll go through the first quarter, the wage negotiations in Japan. So we'll continue to monitor that situation to see how things go and how things move. And we'll see then on the charts how it impacts the dollar. But as just a forethought, as they negotiate wages to be higher, right, we'll see the yen start to pick up some strength, because that all ties into their interest rate conversation, and then potentially coming out of this ultra loose monetary policy that they've been in for quite some time. So keep that in the back of our minds as we navigate. Coming down to the 1 on this dollar yen, we'll run the fib off the low, right? And you see we're still just sitting there in this 118, 127 zone on the 1-hour time frame, just pressing sideways. All right, so not a ton doing there. Any questions on the dollar yen? Nope. Okay, cool deal. Let's make sure. Okay. Whoops. 1 second. All right. So let's go over. I want to get some updates on some of the pairs that we looked at over the weekend, and I've been covered them yesterday. But this Aussie CAD, right? We got the Aussie CAD to push up into our sweet spot, and we talked about this over the weekend, right? Getting a high price to then get back short, right? Because overall, that's on the 1-hour time frame. Overall, our bias to the downside here, right? So coming back to the daily, we see, right, price is moving down, right? And we pushed back up, testing previous support levels here, right? Coming back down to the 4, we see the nice move back to the upside, and we see previous 4-hour support here. We came back and retested that level. It had decision, indecision candle. If this closes bearish, that gives us our evening star pattern on the 4-hour time frame, right? Evening star pattern on the 4-hour time frame. We'll look for price to continue moving down to the downside. So we'll watch that to see how that 4-hour candle closes. So coming back to the 1-hour now, price pushed into the 618 retracement zone, didn't get to the 786 level, right? And we're turning over, pressing down. Okay, so if you run your trend lines, Whoop. Didn't know that. Run our trend lines to the upside. Like so. We're getting that trend line break now. Right? Didn't close below the trend line there. If we get a bearish candle close here, that's a trend line break. So if you trade with trend lines and look for those breaks, that could potentially be your opportunity there, right? So looking here, right, we pushed up into the zone. Boom. Like so. And if you're trading this just off the 1 hour time frame, right, there's your risk to reward scenario there on the one. All right. So we're looking at the C to D move, right? Play the 80-20 back to the upside. We got our high price. So if you didn't play that retracement, now you got a high price and you're able to get short here, right? So looking for price to continue moving down to the downside, getting to that D extension, 106 pips to the downside, getting to that 1 hour D extension there. All right. So the ABCD waves, right? So we're looking for that CDD move back down to the downside there. Okay. Do we have any questions activated on the 1 hour? Great work, Joy. Right. Setting those limit orders and allowing them to do what they do. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Any questions on Aussie CAD? Getting the reversal that we talked about over the weekend. All right. Cool deal. So looking short there. Let's go to the Aussie yen. Actually, Aussie Swiss first. Aussie Swiss first. So we know that Swiss franc has been gaining steam. But here on the daily, we have this 80-20 scenario. We've been lingering down here in this 118 and 127 zone, right? We got a weekly support there at 56,051, and we're pushing. We came back down, and we're trying to turn over a bit down at the bottom here. All right. So coming down to the 4, there's our AB boundary on the 4 hour. I want to take that out and that out. Resistance. We're going to take these levels out also. Those are no longer there. All right. So we got to bounce off the B boundary. We got our retracement here. Didn't get to the 236 level. We got a 118, 127 zone here. Back at that support level, that weekly support level of 56,051. So we want to watch that to see, A, do we continue rising or do we push back down first and then continue to the upside, right? So something that we want to keep our eyes on there, potential pushes to that 118, 127 zone. Now, as we get down to the 1 hour, we see here, right? We're still inside this AB boundary on this fib to the downside, right? 8-6 retracement, matching extensions at 56,488. Okay. So if we break this lower time frame support level here, we could be headed to the downside. Ultimately, we could make it to this 118 and 127 zone on the 4 as we push down to the downside. So this is one I want us to watch. And if we get that additional confirmation, right, could be looking at a scenario like this. Another C to D move. We had some somewhat dovish remarks coming from the governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia, right, which could move this to the downside in the short term. So we'll watch for something like this and a push into that 118, 127 zone on the 4 hour time frame, right? So that's what I'm looking for the potential of there on this Aussie Swiss. I haven't taken this trade yet, but I'm watching, right? Trend line break of the support level. That's additional confirmation I would need on the entry to the downside, playing this short. Okay. So watching for those confirmation pieces. on the CDD move down to the downside, and then ultimately get into that weekly support level, right? Which down, that's 121 pips to the downside there. But could take us time. So we'll watch that and see. Questions on the Aussie Swiss. You guys follow me on that thought? Yes. Cool deal. Let's see something here. Okay, yeah, we just pushed in there. That's a range. Okay. So that's where we are there. And then we'll look for, right, once we get to that support level, we'll look for this 80-20 opportunity back to the upside on the 4, right? And that'll be in alignment with the 4-hour and that daily 80-20 scenario, right? So that'll be a longer term move. And it'll kind of come in line if we see the commodity currencies pick up due to the war scenario, right? So it'll look something like that there. Yes, got news tonight. Yep, got news tonight. So we'll see how that the unemployment rate and employment numbers come out for the Aussie, right? And that could, right, if those come in softer, that'll be in line with the governor's sentiment, right, which could give us that catalyst to push it to the downside. Okay, sweet. So we'll watch that on this Aussie Swiss. Then let's go to the Aussie Yen. All right, and you'll see all these that we looked at over the weekend, the scenarios that we talked about are coming into play. So on this Aussie Yen, we had the strong bearish push last week, and then we got a pullback, all right? Came back, took back a lot of that bearish action, majority of it. Now we're getting some indecision here on the daily time frame. Okay, let's drop this daily level in here. Drop that level there. We'll take that down. So coming down to the 4 now, right? We see we've just been kind of consolidating here. Strong bearish action. We pulled back, another push down, weren't able to break out, and we pulled back again. And now we're trying to turn over and press down, right? So if we stay below this 95,830 level, we could see this start to make its way to the downside here. Okay, so we'll watch and see how things transpire, potentially coming back to that 93.59 support level here. Okay, so we'll watch that closely there. Coming down to the 1, this is where it gets a bit interesting. Here, right, deep retracement, 8.6 level, pushed into that zone, right? Matching D extension is here at 94,199. Okay, so again, another scenario where if we get trend line breaks, to look for shorts, at least in the short term. Okay. And actually, right, trying to break the trend line there now. Okay. Trying to break the trend line there now. So if we close bearish here, there's an opportunity, again, for shorts, at least in the short term, to the downside. Okay, so all of these we're waiting on additional confirmation on. Outside of that Aussie CAD. Okay. All right, unless you took that off the high, right? Then right, then you're already in this to the downside, right? But if you didn't, right, and you're waiting for that additional confirmation, watch for the trend line break. Okay, but that's the scenario there. All right, questions on this Aussie Yen? Oh, okay. Give me 1 second here. All right, coming down now. Aussie New Zealand posted this one in the Discord yesterday. This is interesting because we broke this previous resistance level. All right, this was a daily resistance. We pushed strong, push to the upside, broke through. It's been a strong bullish move to the upside here, right? So now, do we retest on the lower time frame? Do we continue long, or do we get a pullback first before we get the continuation to the upside? So that's the thing to see. And with the data coming out tonight, that could give us a potential view on where that will go, right? But it's been a strong push to the upside so far, right? After the break of that resistance level. So coming down to the 4, you see here on the 4, we took out the A, right? And we're pushing long. So we flip the fib, run it to the upside, and we haven't had a swing high to form yet, right? So we haven't had a swing high to form yet. We tried, but couldn't. We continued pressing along, retest that level and push. All right, so we're looking for a reset there on the 4-hour time frame. We get down to the 1, and this is where we sit. Okay, this is where we sit on the 1-hour time frame. Shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone. We have some consolidation, and then we push to the upside. Okay, so we'll watch this to see if we get this move to the downside to occur, and then give us an opportunity to get back long. Okay, so excuse me. This one I took in the zone, but right, if you're waiting on additional confirmation, wait on your additional confirmation. All right, be it trend lines or a cloud break. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So there you sit there on the Aussie, New Zealand, looking to see if we get that retracement before the continuation. Okay. Questions here? Oh, no questions. All right. Cool deal. Cloud. Got a ways to go on the cloud. Still bullish here. Still bullish there. What about the A boundary? What am I looking at? Oh, yep. Break, retest, continue to the upside. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Good eye there. Okay. Any other questions here? No. All right. Cool deal. On to the Aussie dollar. Similar scenario, right? Still lingering at the B boundary 236 retracement level on the daily time frame. Coming down to the 4, right? We got a 50% push already. So overall, right? Again, we know our bias is to the downside, right? Been moving down. Overall bias is bullish on the dollar. Absolutely keep seeing it, Carolyn. All right. The more you do it, the better you become. All right. So overall bias is bullish on the dollar, right? So looking for this to continue to the downside at some point. So we get down to the 1 hour, right? And we had an 80-20 scenario here. Got the push to the upside, pushed into that 618 retracement zone, and we're turning over. Okay. So if the data for the Aussie gives us the catalyst, right? There's your trend line to the upside. Boom. Right. So additional confirmation, you can wait on trend line break there. Or, right, if you drop down to a lower time frame, you can run that tighter trend line to the upside, getting to the highest point like that. Right. And you already got your trend line break if that was your scenario there. Okay. But 618 retracement, price turned over. Now we're looking for price to push down to the downside. All right. then we'll see what happens at 62,732. But that's where we are, right? There is potential for us to push a little bit higher, come back and retest this consolidation here that we broke out of. So just be aware of that in this scenario. I already had my entry into the downside here. So what I'm waiting on is a break of either a break of this trend line here, right? And I'll take an additional entry to the downside, or if we push back into the zone and push higher, right? Then we'll draw another trend line here and we'll look for a break of that trend line like that, right? Push back and give us a higher high, then we'll just adjust this trend line, right? Because we'll have a new high at that point, and we'll look at breaks in this range here. Okay. But so that's what I'm looking at. If we stall here on a retest of this lower time frame resistance retest, and we push higher, come back into this zone here, right? Then I'll look for some consolidation and then a break of the trend line somewhere in this range here. Okay. But potential opportunity on this Aussie dollar, we're pushing into our sweet spot. So let's continue to monitor that one, wait for our additional confirmation, and look for the short opportunity there. All right. And again, that could come with the data to later on this evening. All right. So we'll mark this like that. Boom. Like so. Okay. So that's the Aussie dollar opportunity there. Questions here? 3 a.m. 63,776. Great work on that. Saw that break on that tighter trend line. Yep, somewhere in that range there. Nice work, Joy. Right off the high. Boom. I love it. I love it. Joy is on it at 3 a.m. Joy is on it. Let's go. Let's go. Great work. Great work. Let's see something here. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions on Aussie dollar?
Nope.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Yeah, yeah. I definitely understand those times. Being up early in the morning. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so that's the Aussie dollar. Let's take a look at this pound CAD. Still taking this time. Still taking this time. Just got your 382 there on the daily. This is the move that we're looking at here. Looking for a pullback for a high price to then get back short. Coming down to the 4, right? We had the opportunity here with the double top, breakout to the downside, boom. Now we're looking to see if we can pull back a bit more, give us another high price on the lower time frame to get short and continue this move to the downside here. Making our way to the D extension here at 162,749. Coming down to the 1, this is the scenario here. When we got to that 382 level here, and we're just pressing sideways, we'll see if we get another push to the upside or not, right? If we push into that zone like that, that's what we love to see here and give us that high price to get short. So it's just hovering right now. I hadn't had a chance to look at it this morning. So, but love to see it push here, give me an opportunity to add to the trade to scale in and continue that move to the downside there. Okay, so that's what we're looking for there on this CAD, pound CAD. Any questions on this one?
No.
Cool things. Cool beans. All right. I do want to look at these this Euro Aussie and Pound Aussie. So these are an interesting situations, right? Overall, we know we're making our way to this weekly 382, right? Had a strong push to the downside. We had this morning star pattern, push up, pull back. We pulled back here, and now we're trying to get a bit bearish again. So what I'm looking to see here is, do we get a deeper retracement to come back into this zone here, 158, 554, before we continue long? And this is my curiosity here. So that's what I'm watching to see if we get some action like that, give us a double bottom scenario at the 618 retracement level off this sub fib. Aussie isn't the strongest, but also the euro is in an interesting situation, right? Overall, still got high interest rates, but between data coming in on both sides and the narrative being kind of uncertain, I'm watching this one to see if this turns over there. So coming down to the daily, here's that move. We got a 618 retracement here. We pushed up. We were stuck in this consolidation. We broke out. We're coming back into that consolidation here, right? So I'm watching to see, and this daily level here is going to be key. If we break below 164,453, then I'm looking for price to continue headed deeper into this AB boundary here. Okay. So I'm watching that to see what happens here, but we did turn over and we are moving to the downside pretty strong there. But when we get here to the 1 hour, to the 4 hour time frame, on that move to the upside, right, off of 50% retracement, had this head and shoulders pattern, right? And we pushed up, right, broke the neckline, and now we're coming back. So again, this scenario here, right, we got a 4 hour support level here. So if we continue pressing down and break out below this 163, 394 level, then that'll be insight to move to the downside. But this is where it caused a little confusion for me, and I'm just waiting to see what happens, is this inverted head and shoulders pattern, right? Is this just a retest of that move to the upside? And then do we see price take off long? Right. So got a couple things that I'm watching there to see what happens and see how price moves. Didn't draw this. There's our trend line to the downside, which we stayed below. So we'll watch that to see what happens and see how price moves from there. Coming down to the 1, right? And this is where we could be in for. We didn't get that 80-20 scenario there. Just pushed off the B boundary. But this is where we could be in for price to turn over and press back to the upside, right? Pushing into that 618 retracement level. So if we get price to settle in this zone, we could see price move to the upside. So watch this one in both directions. If we break that A boundary, look forward to continue lower. But if we stay within the AB boundary and we settle in 618, 786 retracement zone, right? See if we get price to push back to the upside. So that'll be it'll be dependent on both of those. We'll see what that data this evening has to say, right? That could be the catalyst to move this back long. Okay, so we'll watch that there. 65, 112. You got entry long?
Yeah, I had played that last fib, and that's just where the spread in my broker put me at. Because I was aiming for the 6-1. Yeah.
I got you. That's a great entry though. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I was gonna ask about this one because it was like, I forgot that you said about the head and shoulders, but then I thought I seen a crown playing somewhere. Was it on the daily? It's on my other computer. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
But yeah, I was confused about this, so I'll take my 20 cents if that happens.
I dig it. I don't see a crown on this one anywhere.
No, okay, here you go. I thought this was gonna be a crown. When
Right here?
zoom back out right here, where the beginning of your head at. I don't know why. Maybe it's how I had mine. I thought that was the left shoulder, the first big hump.
Right here.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
you. I got you. Yeah, no, not quite. Not quite there. I see what you're talking about, though. You're looking at this move right here. Something like that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. It's technically it could be. Huh. We'll see. We'll see. It fits the ratio. It's a good eye. We'll see. We'll watch that and see what happens. We'll watch that and see what happens. So let's monitor it and see. All right, let's monitor it and see. All right, and we'll watch it off this 1 hour time frame. See if we settle in at this 50% 618 zone and get back long, or do we continue to the downside? Okay. Any other questions or thoughts on this Euro Aussie? No. Benny, good morning, bro.
Ryan, good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How about yourself?
Oh man, doing pretty good. Great day.
Awesome. Anything on your mind this morning from a fundamental perspective?
No, nothing beyond what you probably already covered already. Just looking at front page of Trade and Economics. The China data was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was.
With the
It was.
the GDP growth and the retail sales rise the most in 4 months. So I'll be interested to see how that impacts, things like the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, things like that.
Yep.
And then of course, inflation still sticky in the UK a little bit. So that's it. That's it. Gold, that's been
Gold
a
on the
crazy move to
rise.
the upside. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
there was some folks calling that bearish that I follow, but it's moving up. So that's it, man. That's it. Pretty much what's on the front page of Trading Economics this morning. Nothing major, nothing high under the surface that I've been able to catch. So
Cool deal, man. Appreciate you. We've been looking at those Aussies too. So and we'll see how some of them play out. A lot of those that we looked at over the weekend have moved into those deep retracement zones. We got Aussie data coming in tonight. So we'll see if we get price to turn over and give us a C to D move on that 1 hour time frame. Cool deal. Appreciate you, man. So that's the Euro Aussie. We'll take a look at the pound Aussie as well. So weekly, we know we had this long move to the downside. We're pulling back. We haven't gotten to a 382 on the daily time frame. Okay. Had this nice pullback and prices turned over. Now I'm pressing down to the downside. So do we get a pullback off this bearish candle and then a continuation short? Coming down to the 4, we got some head and shoulders action here. Right, we're looking for it to push higher and get to this 193, 961 level. Didn't quite do it. Came a bit short, right, before it turned over. So in that, right, pressing down to the downside, strong move down, right, on the 1 hour time frame. I'll show you I'm looking for a pullback to retest. Take this off so we can see this. I missed price turning over here and pressing down to the downside. So I'm looking on the lower time frame to see if we get a pullback, retest the support that it broke out of right in this range here. Right. And this is wishful thinking for me. But if we get a pullback back into this zone, that'll be an opportunity for me to get short and continue this move to the downside, ultimately making its way to that daily D extension at 183. Right. So as we come down to the 1, right, this was a beautiful scenario. 50% retracement, price turned over and broke down. Broke the cloud, right? And now we're pulling back. So this is what I'm looking for here. We hit that D extension already. Okay, so in theory, this would be a new AB boundary right here. Boom. Right. So if we get a pullback 618, 786 range, I'll look for an opportunity to get short here on this fib and play it to the downside there. Okay. And that's in the overall move, right? If you're playing on the 1, right, overall move to the D extension here, that weekly support at 88,471, but could be a longer term move as we break some of these levels. If we get price capital flow into these commodity currencies, right, we could see price turn and press to the downside and make its way to that daily 382, which is the longer term move from where price currently is. Okay, so from here we're looking at that's 795 pips to the 382 if we get price to continue to move to the downside. We did have that positive data come out for the pound. We'll see if that continues to give the catalyst for price to pull back here. And we'll see what happens with the Aussie later on. Okay. You guys follow me on this thought process?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll do. Right. And here's the 4-hour. That 4-hour fib. To the downside, right? And that D extension is below that weekly support level, which gives us thoughts that if we break that level, get to the D extension, we're looking for price to retest and head lower anyway, right? So all within the sequence, So we'll watch and see what happens. We do have a deep retracement on the 4, right? So we'll see what happens with the back and forth there. TP didn't get hit on the long. You took that long off this 4-hour support to the upside, George? Gotcha. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts on this pound Aussie?
No.
All right. Cool deal. Pound yen. This one is interesting, right? Multiple perspectives. So on the weekly, we're sitting at we got to a 236 retracement, but we're just pressing sideways. We know nothing has changed for the yen. Got some back and forth data with the pound, and you see that in the action there. Right. Coming down to the daily, still just a sideways push. B boundary, we didn't get to the 118, 127 zone. Like I want price to, and we're staying below this level at 183,590, right, that we talked about previously, right? We stay below that level, haven't been able to break back above. So that's going to be key in how things move forward, I believe. So here, that level, right, on the 4-hour, here's your 80, no, not an 80-20 scenario. We got a 382 there. Pushed into the zone, right, just shy of 618 daily resistance, broke down. So this is the consolidation that we're in right now, right? Consolidated there for a bit. Now we're consolidating here. I'm just watching this one because I wasn't in it off the high. But if we break this next level, I think we'll be in for some stronger moves down. Now, as we come to the 1, however, right, we got a deep retracement here. Okay. And the reason that I'm back and forth on this is because I'm not bullish on the yen yet. Right. So I'm waiting for the fundamental side to be in alignment. but I'm watching this closely here. Okay, because some of these could start to turn before others. So you see we're just moving through the cloud, right? And the cloud is even moving sideways as well. So just a ton of indecision here. It makes sense for, right, if you're biased on this one overall is to the downside, right? An entry in the zone, got a nice risk to reward scenario here, right? Stop loss outside the A. Stop loss outside the A, and then looking for price to move down, right? Like so, it'd be a decent move down, right? I'm just waiting for some additional confirmation here because I don't see it being out of bounds for this one to continue pushing to the upside, at least coming back to that daily level at 183.841. So I'm back and forth on this one. So I haven't taken a trade on it. You hear Benny say all the time, when in doubt, stay out. So I'm just watching at the moment, and overall, if I miss it, then I miss it. But this is the scenario that you could make out of this and take your shot to the downside. Like I said, decent risk to reward scenario there, 60 pips on the stop loss, right, for 160 to the downside. So good scenario. But I'm waiting for some additional confirmation here to give me some insight on that. So that's where I stand on this pound yen. What are you guys' thoughts on this one?
Same, just stay patient, especially with the data that came out today for inflation, right?
Yeah.
So just staying patient. It's moving sideways right now, so still within the AB boundary. Yeah, it made that strong move to the downside yesterday, and I kind of thought I can't stand when you get that long wick, and that type of price action, because it's usually gonna move into a lot of times some type of consolidation for a little while. That's exactly what it's doing. So my question yesterday was, is it going to take out that A after it recovered? But it moved up, and then it held, and it moved sideways. So it's holding across that level almost like a triple top. So that price area is holding pretty strong. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it based on the retracement on that 1 hour setup, it pretty much got close. It pretty much is right on the TP level. You got an A6 retracement on the pullback.
Yeah.
Right. So that we talked about that yesterday. Like, man, that was pretty much the TP for that setup. With that strong move to the downside yesterday, that almost came in. What was that? 20 pips away from that 1.18.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that type of price action it could be frustrating at times, but because you're typically not around to catch that.
Exactly.
So now you kind of just stuck and trapped, figure out what's going on. So, but they hadn't taken out the A yet, so still a chance.
Still a chance. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Joy says she's practicing the zones on the lower time frame. What time frame you playing this on, Joy? Looking at those zones.
15 minutes.
Do you? Got a nice 80-20 here. Look at that. Boom. So you in this long?
I'm doing
Or are you
it.
just playing support resistance levels?
Support resistance.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey Ryan.
Sir.
That pound New Zealand is making a move. It held at that weekly support. Yeah. And that New Zealand's been weak, and then you got that pound data that came out. So
Pushing long, 50% retracement.
Yeah, that's moving. And if you look at the weekly chart, it's holding at that 202 level. Held.
So, don't find myself trading this one as much as I probably should. Yeah, held nice there.
Good job, Joy.
Oh, great work. Great work. Yep. So pull back, held in the zone. Now we're pushing long. Now we're pushing long. Let's see. That's crazy. Let's go down to the daily, see where we are there. Start these levels in. Support levels there, and we're pressing to the upside. All right. Bam. That was a beautiful scenario. Let's get down to the lower time frames and see what that looked like. That was an 80-20, right? Fib off the high. Boom. 80-20 scenario right there. Boom. Shallow retracement, 118, 127, double bottom, push, pull back, continuation. Look at that. Let's go. Yeah. We'll see what happens as we get higher in this range on the 4, but that's definitely pushing to the upside. 208, 826. See what happens when we get there. Man, that's a beautiful move. Joy, 203, 338. Oh, that's nice work, Joy. Joy is on it.
Yeah, I got to drop you some sevens on that one, Joy. That's great.
Heck
That's
yeah. Heck yeah, right off that double bottom. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. All right, so that's 340 pips to the upside. Let's go. Let's go, man. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. So that's, man, that's a great move, and still got some more to go. All right, we get to that D extension. That's 60 pips to the upside. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with it. Pips pay my bills. I love it. I love it. So we got some opportunities, good people, right? Continue to be patient, continue to look for the additional confirmations that you need based on your trading plan. But it's opportunity there, man. It's opportunity. So any questions before we wrap things up? No? Benny, anything before we close out, bro?
No, sir. Appreciate everything you do, man. Appreciate all of you being here. Continue to do the work. Catching a lot of pips this week. A lot of those setups that we coming out of the weekend that we covered doing the ritual are playing out. So that's always a good thing. It's good to see good price action work in our favor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, good people. We will be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-New York session. Until then, continue to be patient, continue to wait for your confirmation, continue to follow your rules, continue to find your 1%. Have an awesome day. Peace.